And let's get started on today's discussion, deep dive discussion, which is about self-esteem and how to, really heal from low self-esteem. So, got a few questions for you, sis. The first one is, were your emotional needs met as a child?
Wow, okay, so going in hot, right? Okay. The short answer to that is no. And I think it's interesting you asked that, because I think, related to me being a Cancer, I think Cancers are very sensitive, and we have a need for that emotional connection. We need to feel nurtured because, of our nurturing nature. So for me, I'd say no. And how that showed up was just needing that time, that real quality time. I needed that validation. I needed that well done. I needed to be seen and heard and understood. But as many people who have maybe first or second generation immigrant parents, that kind of work ethic, which meant that, you worked, you went out and you made ends meet, that kind of didn't sit so well with my need for connection and sensitivity, and to be told that, I was good and great and beautiful and wonderful. So without that, there was definitely a lack, which at that age I didn't have the words or the maybe intelligence or the understanding to know that that's what I needed. There was just that lack, which now I know as an adult, okay, so my needs weren't being met.
And what do you think was the negative side at the age that you are now as an adult of not having your emotional needs met at that time? Why would it be important to have your emotional needs met?
I think that when your emotional needs aren't met as a child, as an adult, you become hell-bent on either getting them met in roundabout ways, non-direct ways. Because if you know that saying, hey, I need this, I need you to look at me and see me, and that it doesn't work when you go about it directly, you find other ways around it to try and get your needs met, whether that's being like the clown, whether that's being self-deprecating, whether that's sending out distress signals, help me, or whether that might be having relationships where you are fully in control, or whether that is, there's so many different examples, but people have needs, right, and they will be met, but sometimes you get them met in a kind of backwards way, depending on what you've taught, what your coping mechanism is.
Yeah, powerful. What was it like growing up as a young Black girl when it came to developing your self-esteem? And this is, when I say this question, I mean in terms of the household, but also in terms of like school, media, what was that experience like for you?
Yeah, growing up as a young Black girl, I definitely retrospectively can see that I had created a story around why I didn't look like the girl that was getting the guy, and I didn't look like the girl that didn't get a kiss at the end by the prince, or sorry?
Did you created a story?
Yeah.
Right?
So well, this is the thing, it's all happening on a very subconscious level. So it would just be like, right, so I'm not attractive. And the fact is, I wasn't. Like, Black girls weren't really it. And arguably even now, when you look at Love Island, that's still not, I mean, I know we're beautiful, I know we're desirable, I can see it, but in terms of that, the value that's attached to us, like societally, and what kind of ranking that we get in their sort of desirability stakes, there's a very insidious, silent understanding about where you kind of sit in that pecking order, and you just get a very very strong but silent sense of where you are, and you don't rebel against it. It's just an inner knowing, and you kind of stay in your lane. And you know, it was never a lightning bolt thing. It was just kind of and it was funny because I remember in school, if someone like fancied me, I'd be literally, I would never get that message. I'd be like, unless they'd be like, I really like you, and I'd be like, it just wouldn't. I'd be like, who? Huh? Me? Like it literally wouldn't make sense, because you mean my friend?
Yeah.
You mean that girl? Because it can't be me. Like,
yeah.
Me. And I was cute, you know. Had a little something going on. I was cute, but I just didn't see myself that way. So I was like, I best friended myself, you know, the sort of like wingman. I was always the wingman, because that's how I saw myself, and that's the reality I manifested.
It's interesting because I remember growing up in school, and the it girls were Britney and Christina Aguilera. Let me know if any of you guys can relate or you remember. Like, don't get me wrong, we did have Moesha and some of the sitcoms, but in terms of the hot it girls when you were in school, it was very much blonde girl next door. That was the vibe. It was like, flat stomachs, little just hardly any makeup, just girl next door. And
and homes.
Exactly, that type of vibe. So very different to the you know, the rhetoric and messaging that we get now is very much just kind of like bombshell, and you know.
I love that fupas are in fashion now. I love that I can embrace the belly. Fupa. Your fupa.
Oh my gosh, is that your mate, the girl who's like, yes,
it's fupaing.
Is that
I'm like, wow.
What is fupa? What is that?
Fupa's like your little pouch, you know, your love cushion.
Oh my, because that girl is hilarious. We're talking about, there's a girl on Instagram who's
No Ordinary Noir, her name is. Go look her up. She's great.
Yeah, funny. But when we were growing up, it wasn't that. It was abs.
It was a flat stomach. And do you know what? I actually did have a flat stomach, but I thought that was where I derived all my self-worth from. That I had this flat stomach.
I got a flat stomach. Yeah, no, I never. That weren't my life. So it was very much like that. So then it was like, okay, so well, clearly I'm not blonde. That's not my lane. So, you know, and as a kid, it's like who you see yourself out there, and you identify with it, and you look up to these images. So the images that I saw, I mean, I didn't see any images, because I was kind of like, we were both kind of, you'd call it the awkward black girl, meaning we weren't ghetto, we weren't we weren't like sex symbols, we were like smart and funny and quirky, but there was no images of that. Like, it was either like,
no, there was no Insecure. Now Issa Rae made a brand of it, but back in the day we had like Kelly Rowland, as you say, Moesha, but they were from the States. They were quite far away, very kind of abstract idea.
So was fupa, fat upper pubic areas. What is okay? Yeah.
No way.
Fupa, yeah.
I did not know that.
Fupa. So yes, for me growing up, it was like you're either there was no representation for you. No, I just didn't see any images where I fit in. And I was like, so then I kind of didn't fit in. I just, you kind of know what your experience is kind of like. You get used to kind of being invisible and living from that sort of place, because
a lot of black girls will connect with that being hyper visible because you're black, but you're invisible because nobody's checking for you.
There was no
like
one to identify with. Because I think growing up, the two images that I remember seeing for black women was either the video vixen, like you had to look like pow 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 pow, and like a sexual object that was lusted after. And I'm like 10, no. Or you were the angry black woman and doing all them. And now, do you know what? Won't lie to you. When I was in secondary school, I did adopt that, because I was a teenager. I'm not no video vixen because I haven't even started puberty. But there is another archetype that I can impersonate, and it was like I'd be the black friend or the person who, do you know what I mean? That's accessible to me. I can do that. Do you see what I mean? So that's, and things like that do affect your self-esteem, because we want to fit in, especially when you're that young, you know. Alicia said, yeah, I can relate. Loved discovering Issa Rae's awkward black girl YouTube. Definitely, when I see these conversations that are happening now about intelligent, funny, a bit awkward, a bit other black girls that are just jokes, like I'm like, me and my friends are like that. That feels like an archetype that we kind of relate to, as well as, but then it's you're not what's the word I'm looking for? How do you feel about us as women, as black people? It's almost like, do we have the space to be multifaceted, or do we have to fit in?
That's the thing. You've only got a select few: the vixen, the prude, or the awkward one. And
Yeah.
you know, if there's one of us up there, then that's enough. We've got enough representation. Where think about the blonde white women in the media. Let's name them: Holly Willoughby, Tess.
Yeah.
Like, I will be here, dearly departed Caroline Flack will literally be here all day. There's literally like 15, 16, 17 that I will be able to reel off just like that.
Yeah.
Whereas there's one, and then it's like, no, but we have got Alison, who used to be in Big Brother.
Yes.
She's
Yes.
there.
Yes.
You know, you got
Yes.
ZZs and but they're not, and Judy Love there, but they're not like really like, they haven't got the same. If you compare careers, it's like, but anyway, we can be here all day talking about this. Let's get into it now. Let's really get into it.
Yeah. So in terms of self-esteem, growing up, as you said, you didn't necessarily, because what we're talking about now in terms of representation and role models, they affect your self-esteem, because I've even seen it with my friends with their daughters. Some of my friends, one of my friends has a daughter, and little dark skin black girl, beautiful, and her mum always like does her hair up really nice and dresses her up, and every time I go there and see her, everyone's like, you're so beautiful, you're so this, you're so amazing. And you can see she thinks she's great. Like, she's a young dark-skinned little princess, and she feels like a princess because she gets that in her mum invests in her and treats her like she's a princess, right? And then she exudes that energy, and other people give that back to her. So this is important for us to really have these kind of conversations. So when you realize, what age was it that you realized that you was just like, right, I feel like there may be some confidence or self-esteem, because you know, you were saying about being used to being the invisible girl, and what age and what was the catalyst where you was like, actually I might need to heal around this, and these different tropes or characters that I take on in order to fit in? How do I learn how to take care of me and honor myself? When did that happen?
I think there's a lot in there, because I think I should say that I think there's such thing as pretty privilege. I don't think I was unattractive, but it doesn't really matter. It kind of is how you see yourself and how you line up with what you think you're worth. So what I thought I was worth is what I was attracting into my life. I can see that retrospectively in terms of the partners I'd line up with, the things that I would do, like the situations I would find myself in, the standards I had for myself. And it was all well and good, but I again, because this whole thing about my emotional needs not necessarily being met when I was younger, I really found that in the arts I was getting that when it came to drama class, or if I was up on stage, I got the eyes on me, the attention that I really craved. I didn't know on a conscious level that was me getting my needs met. I just thought I'm really good at drama, which I was. You know, creativity is something that I really enjoy. I really it's a muscle that is strong within me. A lot of us, you know, it's a very human thing, but it's something that I always knew I wanted a creative career, and you know, drama in the arts was it for me. And I really wanted to get into drama school, but I was nowhere near ready. Like, back in the day, we didn't have like however many youth theatre groups there are on at the end of every road. I somehow evaded all of them, and there I was auditioning for Central School of Speech and Drama, like forgetting my words for, like, you know, a 2-minute monologue. So I just wasn't prepared. I ended up doing a drama degree. But yeah, my head wasn't, I was very easily swayed because my focus was externally placed. I was very much concerned with the validation of other people instead of being focused on my own journey. And you know, I did some amazing stuff because I was brave. I didn't have anything like I didn't really have that fear of putting myself in danger, but I did a lot, but as I say, I was very focused on, I wanted to be with the in crowd. I wanted to, belonging was a massive thing for me. I wanted to you know, acceptance and feeling like I was part of something was a key driver for me, instead of that just being a given. Like most kids, you kind of figure out your lane and like that's who you are, you're cool with who you are, and you've got your clique, and that's in the bag. And then everything else that is your driving force is to do with, okay, so this is what I'm interested in. My focus was, you know, being in what I deemed was you know, the crowd that I was trying to create around myself, and I feel like that I was living from that place of lack without knowing it. And that showed up. Sorry, just got a phone call coming through, and that showed up like me trying to be part of things, which is already a very needy energy, and that just is attests to that lack of stuff.
Someone's ringing you off, boy. You're back in the game.
Sorry.
Did you go through what I like to call beg friend syndrome?
Sorry, I'm not getting the message. That is not my husband. I really need to let him know that, babe, no, right now.
Babe, time. It's not the right time. Did you also, if you guys got any questions that you have about self-esteem or anything you want to share from your experiences or what you learned, put that, there's a question box below, put it in the questions box below or the comments box below. Did you go through beg friend syndrome?
What a drag. Imagine that. Did you go through beg friend syndrome? But you know what? I'm being 100% real. At the time, I didn't know it. But yeah, how about you, Natalie? Can you speak on your beg friend syndrome?
I was the ultimate beg friend, man. I was, because for me, like, it's not even saying I didn't feel like I fit in with the family, but I guess I just needed attention because my parents were working all the time. I just didn't get much attention at home and I needed attention. So at school, I'd be like, well, my friends can give me attention, or they like me. I needed validation. I needed encouragement. I needed validation. And it was like, well, if people keep me around, then there must, you know, maybe, I've got some use. I've got some value. They like me. I'm doing something right. I deserve to be here. This is good, right? So I would do whatever it takes to keep people around me. Like and plus I'm a Gemini, and Geminis, we're chameleons, mate. We can transform like that, a flick of a finger. So, and I've done this for years. I would, well, from a young age, from school, I would be around people. I would suss a person out, whether they were a dominant kind of character, whether they were shy, and I'm not shy, but whether they were shy because they're a bit insecure and they needed a bit of encouragement, I'll be their encouraging friend. Or you get someone who's quite dominating. It's like, I just need someone who, you know, I can let some steam off and they won't be too upset. That's fine. I can be that too. Like, what do you need me to be? I can be it. Just keep me around. Just be my friend. I was very good at that. And then when I started the workplace, same. Who's the bosses? Who runs things here? All right, who do I need to be so they're my friend? No problem. And there's a positive to it in the sense of I get along with people, but I learn through the work, the shadow work, the spiritual work, how much of myself I was giving up in order to sit at the table. You know what I mean? In order to sit at your table. And then it's like, now, once you do the work and you start to understand yourself, it's like, I am desperate to sit at your table, rude boy or rude girl. I'm gonna create my own table, yeah, and then create other people. All right, Cheryl's gone. Cheryl don't respect Cheryl don't want to sit at my table, and she's my sister. There's some comments here. Hold on. There we go. Definitely as a teen. Oh, you had beg friend syndrome. Self-esteem starts at home. Talk on it. Let's talk about this in the comments. Let's talk about it, because self-esteem for me growing up was like, whew, I really came into myself sixth form, because like I said, the archetype I identified with was like the awkward, funny, black girl that wasn't ghetto, or but I never saw any representation. And then through secondary school, like 7 to 11, I literally was just a chameleon. Who do I need to be to get by? And then sixth form came, and then I've got, like, Nadia's on here now. Nadia's been my friend from year 7. We're both just random people. So I did have relationships that were able to sustain the truth of who I am, and we're still mates now, and we've been friends since we was 11. But just that time, I know I was really trying to find myself, and trying to find myself by getting the validation, approval, validation from other people and other kids. Do you know what I mean? Other kids as well. Hold on, I think Shez is back. All right, Shez is back, let's go. Right, well, Shez joined. Definitely as a teen, because I don't fuck with those people now, and I hate my extended family now. Bless. Hold on, there's some comments.
Thanks, Nat.
No probs. I'm just going through the comments, Yes.
Yeah.
It took to my adult life, even to marriage, hubby had to call me out on it. What did he call you out on, sis? Speak to me. What did he call you?
Who's that? Who said that?
Keke's by Grace.
Oh, wow. Yeah, but this is the thing, right? We become, as Natalie was saying, chameleons. We bend ourselves out of shape to speak to people. And like literally the way you talk would change. I used to get really, and even now, like, I've had very compartmentalized friendship groups. And when Natalie used to come up to visit me at uni, I used to be a bit like,
God, yeah.
worlds colliding. And it's a privilege to be someone that gets to just show up and be 360 who they are. Because so many of us had become professionals at leaving parts of ourselves at the door. Yeah, beg friend, for those parents out there, how can we instill good self-esteem in our kids?
Haley.
Such a good question, Haley. Like, as Natalie was saying, with the friend that she has, it really does start at home, because the world is going to be the world, right? The world is going to give us insecurities. But if at home, we're really lucky that we had our dad, who was always like, you girls are beautiful, black is beautiful, you are stunning, you're intelligent, and all of that. But even that wasn't enough, because of what my specific needs were. My specific needs were time. I needed people to be there. I needed people to see you at sports day. I needed to see you at my school plays. And I know that's a given for most kids. But when both your parents are working, there were a lot of sports days, a lot of parents' evenings, a lot of things that were missed. And at the time, you figured out how to kind of get through it and deal with it and be unbothered. But what happens is that then becomes a pain body, and you become very triggered. It becomes a vulnerability. Like, I used to get very triggered when people let me down, and it could be a genuine reason, but it would trigger a lot of feelings of unworthiness, and like somebody's not here for me, and feeling really sad. And whereas some people who were like, oh god, you're always at every school show, can you miss one please, mum or dad? If someone then cancels on them in their adult life, they're like, oh well, that person cancelled on me. They take it as face value. Whereas when it is something that is part of your pain body, your story, that potentially is a trigger. I know it was for me. So Haley, be there for your kids. That's it. It's not hard. And I know my parents did all that they can with what they had, but I think it's really amazing that at this point I can say it's an uncomfortable thing to admit to, right? But admitting to it kind of sets me free, and I can be there for myself at sports day. Like, don't worry, Cheryl, it's all right. You're going to be on Instagram Live and people are really going to listen to you. I can say that. I can soothe myself. Whereas if I pretend, I'm fine. I'm absolutely fine. I leave that little girl stranded out there on sports day looking for the parents on the start line. You know, you have to be able to own your stuff and reparent your inner child. So Hayley, be that parent for your child now in the present, so she doesn't have to heal from it later down the line, would be my answer.
Awesome. Yeah, awesome. Just to add to that, I would say, looking back now, I needed validation and I needed attention. I needed attention and validation. But I don't, you don't need an ass kiss. You don't need someone to be like, you're just amazing, you're amazing. Because then there's a joke about us millennials that our parents coddled us too much. Well, depends on the millennials, but basically, like, the millennials, our parents gave us everything, and it's like we're spoiled brats. So now millennials go out into the world and the workplace and they're entitled, yeah, and they're like, the world owes me. It's like this running joke in the media about millennials. So it's there's times when you're going to need discipline, there's times when your child's going to need the real, it's just showing that you care. And it's hard because, you know, someone did mention before, are we blood sisters? Yeah, Cheryl and I are blood sisters, same mum, same dad. And our parents, my mum and my mum's parents are from Jamaica, born in Jamaica, came over here, didn't have much. My grandma's parents, born in Barbados, came over here, didn't have much. So my parents grew up with very, very, very little. Yeah. And they were like, my kids ain't going out like that.
Yeah.
So they worked. So for them, because of their childhood experience, they didn't have much. Like, they didn't have much. So when they became parents, they were like, we're going to work our asses off so you don't want for anything. Like, my mum helped me pay my rent, took us on holidays, bought me a car. My dad's very successful. Like, money wasn't an issue. But what did J-Lo say? My love don't cost a thing. You think you're gonna give me? Yes, you won't. Literally, it's like, nah, brethren, because the mental health, I ended up in therapy. It's not blame my parents, but I ended up in spending, it was the best thing. I love therapy. Big up my therapist, yeah. Not with her anymore. But the time I was in therapy was brilliant. And it showed me how much it doesn't matter how much money you have. It's like when people say, oh, these celebrities, they have everything, they have all the money, they have all the fame, why would they go and kill themselves? Well, they probably grew up in environments where their emotional needs weren't met and their self-esteem was low, and they thought, well, if I just, you know, become this big famous person and I put on this show and become this character and millions of people like me, maybe I can fill that childhood void. And then they come to realize, oh shit, my love don't cost a thing. You think you're gonna keep me? As you won't. Literally.
And they have to have these conversations where they actually fess up to these feelings, and they have to work through them. They have to cry. They have to feel those feelings and give those feelings an outlet and be that person who is there in the way that you needed that a person to be there. You can be the parent to yourself, but it's a very deep process, and that's why me and Natalie are here doing this work. You know, that's why we work with women and we take them on journeys to heal these aspects of themselves, because the effects are honestly so powerful. When you get hold of your stuff, it frees you up. Like, you get to feel your emotions, because like I say, we become ninjas at being like, I don't feel like that. Yeah, I'm fine. And you think you're coping, but that's all you're doing. You're coping. I don't want to cope. I want to live. I want to feel the full remit of human emotions. I want to feel the depths, but I also want to feel the highest heights. And what we end up doing is numbing ourselves so we don't feel any of that pain, but we also numb out the elation, the joy, the beauty that is like, what is life all about? So we really need to go back and unlearn that defense mechanism, which is keeping us safe from our scary, dark, sad, upsetting, pathetic. A lot of us really are harsh. We're like, oh God, I'm not a needy person. I'm not a needy. It's like, you're human. You're supposed to have needs, dude. Like, allow yourself to have needs. Like, kids have needs. You're not like, oh my God, that kid's got to change it nappy. I've got, like, it's crying again. No, you maybe you feel like that, but you give the kid what it needs, because it's a need. It's a human, right? But we treat ourselves like, Oh God, I'm not that pathetic. I'm definitely not. And you gotta let yourself feel. You gotta let yourself be human.
Powerful. Powerful. Also, guys, we're going to end in about 15 minutes. So if anyone has any questions, there's a question box at the bottom. So where it says comment, to the right of that, there'll be a little question icon. So if you've got any questions or anything you want to share that you've learned that you want to make sure we don't miss, put it in that box there so we don't miss it. Because this space, deep dive discussions, it's for all of us to learn, heal, educate, understand. You guys, I can learn something from you, vice versa. So
Yeah.
like we said, we need to be having these sorts of conversation. Like there's some of you on here that are parents, and so it will be helpful for us speaking about why it was important, what, you know, what we needed as children, to see if you guys are like, oh my gosh, maybe I could recognize that with my own child, so then I can show up differently in that area. And another thing I'll say as well to the parents, find out, you don't have to, it will evolve over time, but find out who your child is as an individual.
Yeah.
That as an individual, not just like, oh, I'm just gonna big you up, but who they're unique. Like I said, my whole thing was, it's only the last few years that the trope of like the awkward black girl, thanks to Issa Rae, has come out. Just the funny, quirky fashion. And I'm like, oh my God, where the hell was she when I was growing up? And it's just, but you didn't know how to articulate it when you was that age. So find out like who your child is, like what is she into. Just pay attention and encourage them to be their unique individual selves, because we're in a day and age now with social media and with the internet. It doesn't matter what the hell you're into. Like we really don't have to fit in the way that we did when we were growing up. Your kid could be into some random thing, as long as it's not hurting anyone. Let them explore and find out who they are. Because for me, so much of what caused me pain was trying to fit in. Like, where do I fit? Like, I'm not Britney Spears. I'm not blonde and girl next door. That's not it's not me. But I'm not ghetto Thotiana either. Like, but I kind of know who I am, but it's never been encouraged. No one's ever given it attention and energy. So I don't. And then what happens is your unique skills as an individual, they don't get encouraged. They don't grow. Like, one of my skills now is therapy, mental health, psychology, right? Mythology. And why is that? Because I openly and honestly went into my shadow self and my trauma and my unresolved childhood trauma, and I own it now. And now I've learned so fucking much, because that's my unique thing. What's yours? What is yours? I was into Stargate. Yes, honey. Go live your best Stargate life. Set up a Facebook group on Stargate and go find some Stargate brethrens, because we're in 2021 now, and you deserve to find out who you are, your unique print, on the planet. There's a question here. Let's get this up. Okay, let's see. Joseph said, do you think only black girls have this problem? No, every single human being has this problem. Male, female, we all, when we're growing up, we all want to fit in, and we all want to feel like we belong. Go on, Joseph.
Yeah, and I do think that there is an added layer when you're not part of the dominant culture. Like, depending, like if we were in Nigeria, maybe we wouldn't have the same issues. But then maybe if you were white growing up in Jamaica, maybe you would have some of these. It depends how your proximity to the dominant culture. In where we are now, the dominant culture is very much, it's male, white, pop. That's the dominant culture, and you have your subsets who are gaining much more now because of the internet and notoriety. As you're saying, you can get into whatever you're into, so there's much more of a belonging. That the sort of the misfit gang is definitely a thing now. So you can find your tribe for sure. But yeah, for me, I went to the alternative side. Remember, I went for my grunge phase.
Yes, so Cheryl, there was a stage when we were in secondary school. No, I think I was still in primary school and you was in secondary school, and Cheryl was just like, I'm a rock chick. And she listened to like Lost Prophets and she went to all these rock places, and she was a grunge girl. And
Really?
it was like, cool, yeah. And I started singing like Lost Prophet songs and all this stuff. And I was like, yeah, this is what I'm into. Because like, I was
Did you get into it as well? That influenced
yeah,
you?
yeah, on the slide. Didn't let you know though. Didn't let you know. You know what I mean? It's a secret. I mean, but like, I'll be jamming to a little Lost Prophet song. Oh my gosh, what was it? It was so dope. Was it Kerrang? It used to come on Kerrang.
I love Kerrang.
Come on Kerrang, brethren.
Which one?
Oh
yeah, Toxicity. Somewhere between the sacred silences sleep. Somewhere between the sacred silences sleep. Disorder.
That tune. Yeah.
Tune. Yeah, rhythm.
Can't remember the words, yeah. Wake up. Dig up. Don't get me down. Don't get me, brethren. So that was our childhood, yeah. Meanwhile, MTV's like, you were that. And we're like, no, we're not. So we just had to try and find like our own lane, innit?
Yeah, and I feel like that was really good for me because there was like the church black girl crew who everyone wanted to crowbar me into, and I was just like, but I want to be bad.
You had your friends. Cheryl had these friends, bless them, 2 girls, and they were church girls, and they were lovely. But it was like they were your black friends, and you got on with them because they were your black friends. But then you was just like, I want to be a rap chick and do the most, and they're like, I want to go to church. So.
Yeah, definitely very alternative because there weren't as many choices. But yeah, in terms of how to build self-worth, I really think, yeah, it starts at home. But if you don't get those needs met at home, I think get that process of discovery, because I didn't know what I didn't know. So I just knew I was grasping for things. And I had a really interesting life because of it. What was I doing being a rock chick? What was I doing in France? Remember, I went to live in France for 3 weeks. Funny enough, I now have a French speaking husband. But yeah, just off I went to France. You know, there was always this searching, grasping, looking for, and you know, I have to integrate that as part of myself and be grateful for what path that led me down, because you know, all these different travel journeys and meeting people and got me into all sorts of situations, but it definitely came from a place of need. And now I can recognize it. What I can do is really help heal people and help let that be part of my story, instead of being like I'm embarrassed by it. I can, as I say, as you say, you go into work with people. I also was in therapy. I realized my issues in the drama room, because I was in the drama room trying to get my needs met, and they were like, no, get your ego out my face. We're not trying to see you. We were trying to see the character. And I'm like, look at me.
Yeah.
And I thought I was really good until you get seriously into acting, where you need to have access to all of your darker emotions. And I didn't have access because I got so good at suppressing them. I couldn't really give rise to a character that I'm trying to channel, and you know, so that's when they kind of were like, that ain't it. And that's when I had to go into a process of, oh my goodness, I am so locked up. And that's where it started for me. And I started working with people. And that's what led me to this work now, because so many amazing people that I worked with changed my life. So I would recommend the journey. Work with me or Natalie.
Love it. No, love it. There's a few questions here, and I want it, because we're going to end soon. I want to answer these questions. If you've got a statement or something to share, or a question, you don't want us to miss it in the comment section, please put it in the questions box. I'm going to get to the next one. Joyce again said, would you say you're still trying to figure out your identity? As a human being, we're always going to change and evolve. We're always going to change and evolve. You're going to learn new things. You're going to maybe start a new job that influences you. Maybe you get into a new relationship, and that you're always going to evolve. One thing I do know that I learned about myself through therapy is that intimacy is very important to me in relationships. And when I say intimacy, I mean seeing into me, not sexual, seeing into me, the truth of me. Like prior to doing therapy, I would attract guys that they didn't even get to know who I was on the inside. It was all surface. She's pretty, she's bubbly, she's a singer. That's all that's all I showed them. And I was like, well, he's sexy, yeah. And they would always just end very quickly, very toxic. Didn't go well. Then I learned through therapy, actually, my need, talking about needs, is to be with someone who can see me for who I am, like ability, truth, authenticity, being myself. I'm not always perfect. I make mistakes. You know what I mean? That's very important to me. So I think that's a pillar of mine. I don't see that changing. But, you know, we'll always evolve. But there's certain things I've discovered about myself that's really through the spirituality, the divine feminine journey, that I believe is a staple part of me until I see otherwise. What about you, Shez?
I'm very open to the idea that I'm always evolving. I'm always learning new things about myself, and I don't like the idea of things being fixed. And I think that's a beautiful thing about this journey, is that you know it's a journey and it's ever unfolding. And I am an eternal student. Yeah. I love to travel. I love to learn. I don't really like writing reports, and I'm not a massive reader. I like audiobooks. I've got dyslexia, but I love to learn. I love different cultures, and every trip I've taken abroad introduced me to a different part of myself. Becoming a mum introduced me to a different part of myself. You know, having a husband who's from a completely different country and has a different way of being, you know, I'm changing him and he's changing me, and I'm open to it. Like, I don't want to ever cling to a certain thing, because then I miss out on what's coming next.
Awesome. Love that. Thank you for that question. All right, let's get on to the next one. There's another question here. Okay, 1, 2, we've got. Did your self-esteem get affected after kids? Well, I don't have kids, so Shez, you can answer that one.
Well, I mean, yeah, your body changes a lot, and you lose some of your freedom. So a big part of who I was going out, but actually I feel like I needed to, again, that was part of my placing my focus externally. So and every mother's experience is different, right? So in terms of my self-esteem, I suppose my career changed, because working in the arts, a lot of the time you're out in the evenings. Like, I was doing a lot of 7:30 workshops and going to theatre, and that changed, and that kind of knocked it. Kind of was like, oh, how do I be the artist that I want to be? And you know, you're tired, but I think I've had a bit of a gap, so I've been able to, and because I'm doing this kind of work, I'm really trying to be attentive to my needs. I'm really trying to be hot on self-care, and I've really, you know, what I teach is about time management, and that piece around time management, and building an identity, which means that you're consistent with your habits that make you who you are. Like, I meditate daily. I really enjoy, I don't like jogging, I hate jogging, but like exercise, like aerial yoga, that's part of who I am. And I'm finding ways to manage. I ask for support. This is the kind of stuff that I teach, so it's helped me build that back up. But it is really hard. I know I was a single mum for a long time before my husband came here, so my self-esteem, my body was different. You know, my fupa came along.
Your fupa,
yeah,
after them flat stomach years.
Yeah, had to make friends with my fupa, and yeah, I mean, it's a lot. Your self-esteem does take a hit, but then actually, I'm like, I'm somebody's mum, you know. I'm somebody's mum. I pushed life out of my loins. Are you crazy? Are you crazy? And Natalie saw me do it. Natalie saw me give birth, and she goes, you sneezed him out.
Yeah, I was there at the hospital when he came through, and he came out screwing as well. He looked at me like, what you looking at?
Yeah, he didn't even cry. He was just like, I was busy. Why have you disturbed me?
Literally. No, I love it. There's another question here. Nadia said, let's see, how the holistic way. Have you been aware of any self-esteem issues that were cultivated from adult life as opposed, okay, let me read that one more time. Have you been aware of any self-esteem issues that have cultivated from adult life as opposed to childhood? Yeah, I'll tell you who I've been listening to recently has been dope. You lot might know about him, Gary V. Gary V is G. You heard of Gary V? My guy, yeah. Because with I've learned through listening to him. That's what, going back to Sis who was talking about Stargate. Like, he'll be like, it doesn't matter what you're into. It doesn't matter what you're into. If you basically just start and just give your time and energy to it, allow yourself to grow and develop. Whereas we'll come on, say, social media, for example, Instagram, and you can have an idea in your head. Then you see someone else who's doing a similar idea, but maybe they've been doing it for 10 years, but you don't think that. You just see their glossy shit and their hundreds of thousands of followers and all this. And you're like, oh, well, I'm not even close to that. So I'm not going to do it because their shit looks glossy and better than mine. So I'm not good enough, clearly. And it's like, no, fuck that. Go on your hero's journey, your divine feminine journey. Like, you know, so I've had, in terms of self-esteem as an adult, I think social media can definitely, because we didn't grow up with social media. Social media has come into our lives when we're fully fledged adults, and I think it can affect people's self-esteem. So I think that would definitely be one thing. But listening to Gary Vee has helped me just be like, knock that one out the park. Just go on his YouTube videos and he's just like, what are you afraid of, man? Life's too short.
Yeah, definitely that comparison, and I think that culturally that's where we are, you know, with social media being such a huge part of our lives. Comparison really is something that we do automatically. We always look at the next person saying, oh well, yeah, that person's there and I'm here, and you know, the whole millennial thing where it's like, oh, so my parents had like a house and 2 cars when they were 25 because they got 0% mortgages, and you know, they're looking at you like, what the, and it's a lot. So I think, you know, the self-esteem that comes from being an adult, whether you're an adult of color or you're an adult who's a millennial, or you're an adult who maybe is life, you're not where you thought you'd be at this age. I think that's a huge thing that a lot of us deal with. It's like, hang on, I'm 30 something. When I was 16, I remember saying to my friend that by this age I would have this and this and this and this, and then you're at this age and none of that is true. Very, 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 very hard for your self-esteem. But I mean, each path is different, and you have to be open to your story being your story. You get to be the protagonist of your own life. You get to be that, like, it's your movie. Do you know what I mean? You're the lead character. So we need to stop like making ourselves like the best friend or the sidekick in our own movie. Like, we
main character.
Yeah, straight. So and there's no story is complete without jeopardy, right? Without oh my god, this terrible thing has happened, and the whole story becomes amazing because of that journey of overcoming. So yeah, that's a brilliant question from Nadia, that not all self-esteem issues come from childhood. They can happen, you know, later on in your journey, where, you know, things, either a traumatic event, that comparison piece, that, you know, your body's changing, your career isn't going the way you thought it would, your relationship ended abruptly. There's so many things. And I think a big piece is having that moment to really admit to where you are, because you can sort of keep going and going and going and going and going and never have that piece of like, this is what I really want and I'm ready to admit it now. And then you can take the steps to actually to get the help and to make it happen.
Well, that leads very nicely onto the last question, which is, what tools did you use to heal, or not, well, to build your self-esteem up? What tools can you recommend to us today that helped you build your self-esteem? And if any of you guys have any tools that you want to share as well with the community, You can put them in the question box. Tools that helps you build your self-esteem. That'd be awesome. Let's talk about that before we finish.
Yeah, I think for me, I'm in the health space, right? It
Yeah,
might not be super clear, but that, you know, it's health. It's health in the sense that it's well-being, it's mental health, it's doing the inner work so that your outer reality changes.
yeah,
So it's, for me, what built my self-esteem was having that moment where I was able to say, look, something's not right. Something is not right and I need help.
yes,
And that is what started me off on my journey. And I worked with, you know, in an actor's space where I was paying someone to really help me access some emotions. I work with therapists.
yeah,
I'm on my like fourth coach at this point, and
yeah,
they all kind of touch me in different ways. They all give me different things that I need. And you know, I've done a relationship cull. I've got very strong boundaries that really built my self-esteem, where some people, they're used to you being a certain person, that they can talk to a certain way.
yeah,
And then when you start holding yourself in a different esteem,
yes,
those same language patterns or communication patterns don't work anymore.
yeah.
And you're like, I don't accept this.
Mm. Ah, oh.
We're done here. Thank
Yeah,
you. Thank you.
yeah,
And
yeah,
it's with love, you know. I love you, so I'm
yeah,
gonna have to take myself away from this situation because I love myself and I
mm,
love my child. And it doesn't mean that I hate you, it just means that this is unacceptable. And that's a really amazing sign of growth.
beautiful, beautiful. So setting boundaries for yourself, meeting your needs. Because I
Mm.
remember, you know, when you went through that stage where it's like, yeah, there's certain relationships, friendships, people that I've known for a very long time, but I've evolved and they no longer respect the woman that I've turned into. Because when they met me, I was Cheryl without the boundaries. Now I'm Cheryl with the boundaries. And you can accept Cheryl with the boundaries and our relationship can go from there. Or maybe, and if you don't, that's fine as well. But I won't stick around for it. And
Yeah.
that's awesome.
Mm.
So yeah, for me, tools that I use that really help me build my self-esteem: therapy. Carl Jung, the Divine Feminine Journey, wholeness, owning my full self, and coming into contact with my full self in the sense of, because before I was a perfectionist and I was setting a standard for myself that I couldn't live up to, and I was never living up to it. Whereas now it's like, once you own your unique self, you know, the rock chick in you, or the awkward person, or the Stargate person in you, and you realize that what makes you different is part of your individual uniqueness and your gifts, and then you nurture that. No, you're not perfect, but who's perfect? You go on your own journey and your own process, and it gave me a lot of confidence and freedom. Oh my god, freedom to live.
Mm.
And so that was major for me, going on the spiritual journey, the inner journey, and giving myself the validation and correction, because it's not just about, oh, everything's great. Just being honest and with myself as well. So all of this work, what we're talking about now, really helped me build my self-esteem. And big up the parents on here as well, and Cheryl is a parent who's been sharing tips and tools to help parents, so we can, you know, do things differently for the next generation coming up.
Amen.
So yeah, amazing. So before we leave, tell us about yourself. What do you do? How can we hear more about you? What's your thing, like, what you want?
Yeah, just follow me on this page, on my page, Cheryl May and John.
Yep.
I am a esteem alignment coach, wellness coach,
Yep.
life coach. I work with cohorts of women to really go on a deep healing journey. I'm going to be running luxury healing retreats this year. So yeah, events, beautiful self-development programs to introduce you to more of you doing some of the really deep inner work, so that you can get a hold of some of the things that maybe you're not aware of, and you can go on that transformational journey of integrating more of the self and being nurtured, getting that nurturing that you maybe missed out on earlier on. It's a beautiful process. I'm so grateful for the people that have helped me, to drag me through various portals, so it's my honor and pleasure to do it for other women. So follow me, DM me, book a call. There's a link in my bio. And yeah, what a beautiful conversation. Thanks everyone, because there's been a lot of people on this call who have been here from beginning to end. So shout out to you. We see you. Alicia, love you. Haley, Nadia, Jarina, I've got Rejoice. Yes, Rejoice. Hey girl. So many people. Marissa, thank you.
Big up you guys. Yeah, no, powerful. Thank you, Cheryl, for joining us for the deep dive discussion today, talking about self-esteem, being so open, being so honest for the purpose of healing and learning. So yeah, thank you very much. Also, guys, I'm actually in August, I'm launching the Divine Feminine Journey, the next part of the Divine Feminine Journey. If you want to get started on going on this journey, the shadow work journey of unfolding, getting to know yourself, drop me a DM, book your free 45-minute discovery call. There will be some questions about childhood. There will be some shadow work questions, but then there will be some inspiring questions and focus on what it is you want to manifest and all that good stuff. So if you're ready to go deep and do some root work, drop me a DM and you can book a free discovery call. Even if you don't book the course, it will be an opportunity for you to find out a little bit more about your shadow and your goals as well. So yeah, powerful. Thank you everyone who has joined the space. Enough love. And also just a reminder, new moon in Cancer on Saturday. New moon in Cancer. What's your emotions saying? Remember we pulled this card at the beginning. Six of Swords. You might be going through some difficult emotions right now, right? And you might be in a boat and your head's down and you're like, it's all going off, but that you're sailing off to new land, to a new beginning, to a fresh start, a new moon, a new way of dealing with your emotions, a new way of showing up, new way of thinking. Just sit in that boat and the people around you, the support system around you, this space, the wholeness lifestyle, what my sister's doing, even if it's not us, just what's around you to help you through these challenging times. Might be rocky water, but there's new life, new land on the other side. So I will leave that with you for this new moon in Cancer. Enough love, and I will see you again soon. Bye, guys.
Bye, guys.